Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake. Myself, Jake Stromboli, Davis Wimbledon on the ones and twos. Massive sports weekend. The championship games, championship Sunday. That now, if you're listening to a sports show, I'm assuming you're not coming in blind. I'm assuming you know it's Chiefs-Eagles at this point, the Kelsey Bowl. Talk about the games a little bit, and then, because we are starting to get full-blown baseball fever, there's only one more football game left. I am going through top rotations. You know, you kind of have a few in your head. I kind of want to put them out on paper and see who we like, who's the argument. Maybe it's depth, maybe it's top end, and I think it's going to be fun. That's where I got the pen and paper. I think we're going to be able to eliminate some right off the rip, and we'll see where we go from there. But first, let's do the football. BBD is in his Mahomes jersey. Shout out Grammy, we found out this morning. Big yes. Mahomes gal.
She loved Mahomes.
That's awesome. I love Mahomes, so that's pretty cool. But as we know, we're a Cron pod, and luckily the first one we can chew off pretty easily. Joe's McFly's Eagles run away with it 31-7. Might have to give him a call. Or is he in here? Because he went.
Yeah.
He was in the building. His first ever football game, of course. Joe's fucking McFly. Whoa. The Eagles, if you're a listener to the show at this point, you know this. And it's not like a hot take or anything. I very much believe in what is it? Not the game flow. What's it called? The game like picture.
Oh, the like win probability chart?
No, the like what happens early on can change the game.
Oh.
And the example I'll use, and maybe chat, it's good to have you back. Maybe you can help me out. The game script.
Great. Yeah.
Jeez, it's Monday, people. The game script. 4th down. Philly's got the ball. Opening drive. 4th and 3. 29 yards to Devontae Smith. One-handed. Comes down. And here's what I'll tell you. And I don't know if I'm Shanahan, and I definitely respect who Devontae Smith is as a player. That is one of the first times I can remember a wide receiver, normally the peacocks of all peacocks on the football field, instantly getting up and saying, "Let's huddle and go." Like, if Devontae Smith had caught that ball and did that trying to bait San Francisco into using one of their challenges, I mean, that would be an IQ of 250 play. He wasn't doing that. We end up getting a replay that would have been interesting. I think it would have gotten overturned. You see that ball shuffling there? I mean, we saw it the weekend before on that touchdown pass that got broken up in the end zone, Jamar Chase, as we get to those Bengals in a little bit. I think the game script would have been very different. I mean, Niners would have gotten the ball on their own 35-yard line. Brock Purdy has not been injured at this point. So, you start going down a whole sports avenue. Let me get all of that out of the way, because the Niners end up getting rolled on 31-7. Brock Purdy gets hurt. To live out what's been the Brock Purdy existence, and then we see him come back in the game, which I guess we'll get there. He's hurt bad. I don't know if we have the official injury. We heard UCL, which, hey, for all our baseball people, you're familiar with that. I heard some rumors of like a crack in his like elbow. I don't know if we fully know yet. But let's give Brock Purdy credit. I'm guessing he was hurting pretty bad. Basically, we caught his lips talking to the coach. Shout out to my guy John Boy, that I think he said, "I can't throw." And then you saw him on the sideline loosening up a little bit. But either way, ultimate NFL journeyman, Josh Johnson ends up coming in the game. And man, he's been on, I think it's 12 NFL teams. And like every time, it feels like, and this is so unfair to the guy, but it feels like every time they come up with a new like league, it's like Josh Johnson will be in it. I think he was like the first pick when they tried to bring back the USFL or something like that. So it also sticks out a little more because it was when when those new leagues have hype. He was that league's Ben DiNucci. Shout out Dragons. He comes in and you have a moment where you're like, okay, we're in Philadelphia. The Niners are immensely talented. Shanahan is respected as one of the best coaches in the league. Are they going to do something?
It was the AAF.
The AAF. It was the 1-1, right?
Yeah. San Diego Fleet.
Good team.
And Washington signed him before the season began.
Tough. The Niners, they put a drive together. Christian McCaffrey has a badass run. It looks like the cameraman and kind of the defenders give up a little bit because you're like, oh, there's enough bodies there. He's probably going down. He keeps going. Touchdown. It was 7-7. And then that leads to a Philly 14-play drive. They had a 4th and 1, 3rd and 7. Another third down on that drive. 14-7. And then it's okay. Can the Niners do the end of the half answer? Josh Johnson gets rocked. Son Reddick was all over this game. Proud Philly guy. I believe he's Temple. Did I just make that up in my head? I mean, if he's not, then he's still a proud Philly guy. Yeah, Temple. Yeah. Camden, New Jersey, went to Temple. That's what I thought. 21-7, and again, we're pretty in with DraftKings at this point. You people know this. DraftKings doesn't mess around with their money. When it was 21-7, and remember, the Jacksonville Jaguars had the biggest comeback in NFL history. The number on the Niners to win at that point was a much greater payout than it was the Jaguars to come back. Because they're on their 4th-string quarterback. How often when you talk football do you end up talking about the quarterback like we're going to with this Super Bowl coming up for the next couple weeks? And they're on their 4th string. When you really think about it, Trey Lance to Jimmy G to Brock Purdy to Josh Johnson against a really good Philly team. Like I know I started there, and you guys know I was on the Niners. I just kind of believed in what they were doing and thought when push came to shove in the big moment, one of their stars might do it. Philly rolls, they dominate, 31-7. Good on Jalen Hurts, man. It was the story for a lot of the first half of the season. It dwindled out a little bit by the end as they kind of slunked in. When they go, it's dominant. I mean, they had 4 guys that were kind of a problem rushing the ball. Gainwell, Sanders, Hurts, and the talking Giants, Boston Scott gets a touchdown. It wasn't pretty, but that Niners defense is really good. Remember what they just did to Dallas, what they've done to a lot of teams this year. And the Philly defense is really good. Niners on their 4th-string quarterback. I think for football fans, if we could run it back and that Devontae Smith gets overturned, who knows what the game looks like? Does Brock Purdy get hurt? Does anything happen? Or does Philly just roll? Because it was in Philly, and they're a really good team. They beat the Niners. Not going to pretend to fully deep dive into it further because I do unfortunately think you can just say, hey, Josh Johnson, San Diego Fleet, no shots fired at him. Put into an almost impossible task in the NFC Championship game. Eagles roll. They're going to the Super Bowl. And who will they face? The game of the day. BBD's Chiefs versus the Bengals. I think over the next couple weeks you'll hear people call this almost the pseudo Super Bowl. Although the Eagles are favored over the Chiefs. I guess we got some time to talk about that. And, just revealed who won. Burrow head, man. badass. As you get older, you almost, trash talk becomes less cool and less cool unless it really hits home. Calling it Burrowhead, I mean, Arrowhead, Burrowhead, those kind of working out is funny because
when you even have that option.
Yeah, like it just, I understand why it happened because if I was a defensive back for the Bengals and I had thought of Burrowhead, I'd say it. It's kind of cool, kind of funny. Can't tug on Superman's cape at all. And we saw Superman, and there's a lot of talk about the refs in this game, which I'm a little surprised. I understand the one funky one. The Chiefs kind of got a free play, and they just said do-over. And you're like, all right. But they end up not getting too hurt by that one. But still, it's just like, it's one of those things that I pictured and I tweeted about it. If I was a Bengals fan and I'm in Arrowhead and the Chiefs are just getting free plays, I'd start freaking out. There was a couple other borderline calls. The Bengals head coach was going nutty on the sideline felt like the whole fourth quarter. A couple big moments in this one. The Bengals have their fourth down, and Burrow just chucks one up to Jamar Chase, double coverage, and just, I don't know, felt like one of those signature Joe Burrow plays that it's like for some reason he can do that and your quarterback cannot. That was a special moment. The one that everyone's talking about today, and rightfully so, the Mahomes touchdown pass to MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, where he steps up in the pocket, kind of a jump throw, puts it on the mark, on one leg, all of it. I mean, it's where Mahomes is different, and I think I was getting into the Burrow and Josh Allen conversation for the past, I don't know, since that regular season game was supposed to happen. Week 15, something like that. 16 maybe. And I was like, maybe, should Burrow and Allen, should they be the same conversation? Everyone tried to kind of bring Allen up to Mahomes. That drifted apart a little bit. Burrow, it kind of felt like he was on Josh Allen's ass, but also if, Bills kind of seemed like a team of destiny a little bit. Let's be honest. Like, for a lot of us, it's kind of spun DeMar Hamlin and, playing for something bigger, and the Bills also being one of the best teams in football this year, that I was wondering, kind of why there wasn't more of a Burrow-Allen conversation. In one game, it felt like Burrow jumped Allen, and everyone was ready to do Burrow and Mahomes. And I love Joe Burrow, and I think I'd take him over Josh Allen, which I think that's still a little hot in the streets. But no one's on Mahomes' level, man. I mean, he's like there's Steph Curry Golden State comparisons, like elite offense and just, guys that seem almost cool and goofy, but they also want to rip your heart out. I mean, the thing with Steph Curry is he's undersized for NBA superstars traditionally.
The initial appeal once he got to close to that level.
Yeah, like you just don't see that. Mahomes, I mean, he's, he has kind of the prototypical NFL body. He's got the strongest arm. He's pretty thick. He's athletic. On one leg, he scrambles for the big first down. And then, I mean, a name that unfortunately for now is going to be remembered in history for all the wrong reasons is our guy Asai for the Bengals, Joseph Asai, who was actually playing like a great game. Like, I don't live in the X's and O's of football, but he had 2 quarterback hits. That was most on the Bengals. There's some irony there now. Knocked down a pass. He had, for a D lineman, 5 tackles, 3 solos. The guy was playing a great game. They were highlighting him on multiple plays, even on a play earlier in that drive. Mahomes scrambles for the first down. He's out of bounds. Asai hits him, and you just know. And that gets called every time. You can play the Patrick Mahomes card. If that was Josh Johnson, if that was Burrow, that's getting called every time. Puts them in field goal range. Man, couple other nutty plays in this game and I've got some stuff I need to cover on Romo and this game, which I'm actually on the other side of the fence, oddly enough. Mahomes has a horrible fumble in this one, just basically like drops the ball, goes back to pass, they lose it. The Bengals, the tip play interception, that was pretty badass. Pair of rookies for the Chiefs.
That was
number
cool.
6. He was getting he had got himself into trouble on a few plays, and he makes the big play there. The intensity of this game kind of felt like a high school football game, and I say that in the best way possible because I think that's relatable. Oh, Nikki Cass is here. Great. Going to be a wild day. Everyone kind of likes Burrow and Mahomes. Now, if maybe those are your division rivals, you might hate that guy. Like if you're a Ravens fan, you're probably not the biggest Joe Burrow fan.
He drives you nuts.
Almost everyone in the world can admit Joe Burrow's cool.
I love Joe.
He's
Burrow.
awesome. Mahomes, it's kind of the same thing but different. I don't know. Mahomes was the guy, Kansas City, star quarterback, makes it look different. Joe Burrow kind of came in, I don't know, it felt like a rival high school and felt like he was befriending girls from your high school on Instagram and stuff. I'm assuming that's what they do now. My day was Facebook. And you kind of want to hate Joe Burrow a little bit, but then he came in and he's awesome. Every time he plays, it's badass. Burrowhead. It ends up backfiring a little bit. Chris Jones, who we talked about on here a little bit, he ends up having the big sacks. Talk about quarterback hits. He had 5 in the game. How are you?
Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
How are you, Joe Burrow? That doesn't feel good. In Arrowhead, with a little motivation, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs get it done on that final drive. Man, this feels like a rivalry that's just brewing, man. A lot of the Bengals dudes are coming back. The Chiefs and Mahomes, I think it's 5 or 6 straight championship games. It's something
I believe so.
Very Houston Astros-esque. And guess what? Mahomes is going to continue to go. We'll see how many years Reed has left, but he's still churning up some winning plays. And man,
Mahomes only 27.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, who Burrow is, who Mahomes is, who these teams are, who their coaches seem to be. It feels like we're gonna get a lot of this. In sports, you never know, right? We could flash forward 5 years and say, hey, this is the first time they've played since. Also, I don't know. I think sports, we say that a lot, but the cream kind of finds a way. And these two teams.
And we've also now it's been 2 years in a row. They're we've gotten this situation. It's we're there.
And for the Bengals, you wonder if this is a next step for them because they didn't take their first 2 games seriously. They lost to the Steelers and the Cowboys, each on a field goal.
Right.
Do we see is next year the year they take a step in their hunting home field advantage and that matters? Because if this game's in Cincy, I don't know. The Burrowhead stuff never happens. So if you believe in that as the motivation and difference maker in the game, are just a reverse hostile environment. Arrowhead's for pro sports, that's a real one. That's intense. And Patrick Mahomes, has a chance to be remembered as one of the best quarterbacks ever. By the end of this game, it was Scantling, Kelsey, and Pacheco. They were doubling Kelsey on every play, and they were still able to make enough plays. Mahomes on one leg. They're going to the Super Bowl. Chiefs-Eagles. We'll have some time to talk about it, so don't need to dive now. Chiefs. And then the other thing I want to close off on this before we go to some of the baseball. For me, man, I like Romo. I understand why people don't like him. I do think it's going to come back around like it did for Joe Buck. I'm not comparing him to Joe Buck, but everyone, all sports fans remember that Joe Buck hate period. It was 3 years. Everyone was kind of against Joe Buck, and then literally, everyone came out of hibernation and was wait, why do we hate him? Just because he calls the big games? So, I think Romo, there's a little bit of that. I think he burst onto the scene almost too hard, where he was predicting the plays, and it blew all of our minds. He still does a little bit of that. He's actually pulled back the reins on that a little bit. I don't know if that's consciously him or
remember, like in real time, and maybe we've talked about it here, but like while he was doing those, like the chatter was like, well, he's only gonna have like a couple years where he can do that. The league's gonna change quicker than you think. But
well, and the thing I heard recently, you guys know I listen to Russillo. He had Jim Nantz on. It was a really good interview. Go listen to that. The thing that Nantz actually said on this topic was that Romo does it more with the veteran quarterbacks because the veteran quarterbacks all read the field the same way. Like, they've all done it the same way, and if that's happening and that's happening, then this is happening. So if there's a couple veteran quarterbacks, he'll bust that out more. If there's young quarterbacks, he won't do that as much because he's not sure what they're going to do. So I thought that was interesting. Either way, I realize he's too intense for a lot of broadcasts. I remember when Gus Johnson burst onto the scene, and everyone was really high on it, and then everyone was like, whoa, that's too intense. I'm a little bit there when Gus Johnson is, there's a layup to go up 7 and early in the second half in a college basketball game. And it's like, okay, we got some ball game left. Like, let's not burn that out. Or he calls a lot of big spots. I feel like he calls Big 12 football. I think what kind of blew up his spot was also Big 12 football games, the games that were getting to like 60 to 54. And he'd be doing that from every score after like 28 to 21. And that can wear on you. And I get that. And I understand Romo has a little bit of that. And if that's your complaint, that's fair. Like I said, with the high school football intensity of this game, I watched this game from home. I watched the first game out. This game was intense. I was on the edge of my seat. Just like Burrow, Mahomes, like if Burrow did win this game, which they were very close to, and it came down to stuff that wasn't Joe Burrow, like everyone would very much be doing Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes today. Because you clip them back-to-back years. Like, Burrow head would be very real today.
All of a sudden, it's at least like he's in that dude's head.
It becomes very real. And for Mahomes, I think it's 6 straight now, championship games, or three for 5 of the last Super Bowls. 3 of the 5 last Super Bowls he's now going to. So maybe it is 5. That's special, and kind of the special we get bored with in sports sometimes that you kind of need to shake yourself awake with. And I think that's what this was. Like, we went another year with the Chiefs kind of being the after mention. Like, it would be the Bengals are really good. The Bills are really good. Chiefs are there, because it's kind of the same. It's even a little less sexier this year without Tyreek. They're going to the Super Bowl. And Tony,
3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, 5 straight conference championship appearances.
And I'm a fan of Romo. Maybe it doesn't come back all the way like I'm saying. Either way, he's in the chair, so I don't think he's just going to be hated forever. But, man, his intensity and some of the stuff he was doing, I think the other thing that's making people mad now is he was giving opinion. Like there was that controversial, there was the 3rd down penalty, and people were, at first it looked like the Bengals were going to enforce the penalty, and everyone was doing the like, wait, you're going to give Mahomes another play? Like, I know it's a 3rd and 17, but that's, we've seen that backfire. Like, and you just feel like with Mahomes, it's going to backfire. And Romo was given like the big, like, I would not do that. And then they end up not doing that. And I was like, I thought that was really good. Just because I think that's one of those things as a fan on the couch, you feel like you could go either way on it. Like flip a coin, right? But the fact that he was in lockstep with Zach Taylor, the Bengals coach, I like that. And there was a couple other moments where I thought the intensity matched the situation. So maybe my problem is the Week 13 game with Romo when you feel like it's not as intense as that. I loved it. I think it's going to come back around a little bit. I know that's an unpopular opinion right now. I had a couple friends not like that. So that's what I have on that. Super Bowl will be coming. Usually from Wake and Jake, that means we get a Chris Rose phone call while he walks, which we like that. And we should bring in Big Bobby. The people love Big Bobby. So we'll have some of that coming up.
Got a couple of eps to work with between now and then. Just thing I'm noticing about the Chiefs before we move on. Last 5 years, mentioned conference championship game. Different leading rusher for the season all 5 years.
How about that? How about that?
That hasn't been discussed, I don't think.
Man, Pacheco, that dude's a beast. He's going to be a fun story for the next couple weeks. Man, in Kansas City, trying to get some guys healthy. Their skill positions towards the end. Hardman got hurt. Yeah. Sky Moore, huge special teams play, but didn't on offense. Doesn't feel like it's clicking for him. Kadarius Toney got hurt. Juju Smith-Schuster was hurt. So they were running. It was MVS, Kelsey, Pacheco, Marcus Kemp was getting out there. Noah Gray. So yeah, their health, I think, is going to be the big discussion of the next couple weeks, where it'll be, can Philly and Hurts continue to be dominant? So we'll see what we learn in the next couple weeks. Fun final football game. I loved everything with Bengals, Chiefs, and Romo. The intensity, I was all in. That was my most enjoyable football game, I think, in a long time.
Yeah, I mean the playoffs needed that game last night to be that.
Yeah, they needed kind of the signature, and I think, I'm not great with memory. Whoa. But no, I don't know if, because normally you get a lean. Like, I'll be honest, I had a Niners lean. Maybe it's something about, Philly fans and being a little aggressive when they're going. I kind of like the Purdy story, I guess. I was in on Shanahan. I love their skill positions. Like, I believe in high-end talent, so that's... And, I mean, the Eagles have that, too. I was just kind of in on the Niners, like, if Brock Purdy, and they did it on the road. I was rooting for both these teams, man. I genuinely was. Like, each play, Burrow and Mahomes, it was awesome. It was awesome.